On the evening of August 22, 2012, Elaine O'Hara disappeared near Dublin, Ireland. The unfolding investigation over the next few years would reveal one of the most disturbing crimes Ireland had ever seen. On the morning of August 23, Sheila Hawkins planned to take her partner's daughter, Elaine, to Dublin's Tall Ships Festival. Elaine had been looking forward to volunteering at the event for weeks. When Elaine didn't show up at their agreed meeting spot, Sheila reached out to Elaine's father, Frank. He reassured her that Elaine might have simply driven herself and forgotten to update them. Confident nothing was amiss, Sheila left for work after unsuccessfully trying to contact Elaine at her home. Elaine had recently been discharged from St. Edmundsbury Hospital after a 3-week stay for depression, a struggle that had plagued her since her early teens. The day before her disappearance, Frank and Elaine spent time together. They had lunch and visited Elaine's mother's grave, a visit during which Frank noticed Elaine frequently texting someone unknown. She seemed in good spirits, particularly excited about the festival. However, Elaine's excitement did not allay her father's worries when she failed to contact anyone later that day. Aware of Elaine's past attempts at self-harm, Frank used his key to check her apartment. Everything appeared normal except for the fact that Elaine's iPhone was left behind, which was unusual for her. Elaine's life had been marked by severe emotional challenges, including being bullied, losing a close friend in a car crash, and her mother's death in 2002, all of which deeply affected her mental health. Her psychiatrist had diagnosed her with depression and borderline personality disorder, noting her emotional fragility and various obsessions related to restraint and punishment, which he initially thought were part of an emerging psychosis. Over the years, Elaine had been hospitalized multiple times for her depression and suicidal thoughts. In July 2012, Elaine checked into the hospital again. There, she eagerly talked about her plans to volunteer at the festival, a sign her doctors took as positive. Her new psychiatrist even reduced her medications, hopeful about her recovery. Still, when Elaine vanished, Frank feared the worst. The lack of response to messages and calls deepened the family's anxiety. Another visit to her apartment revealed that not only her phone, but also her handbag were still there. Sheila's discovery of a latex bondage suit in Elaine's laundry further complicated their understanding of her state of mind. Their search extended to Shanganagh Cemetery, where Elaine often visited her mother's grave. There, they found her car and clues that suggested multiple phones, contrary to what her family knew of her. With no signs of Elaine and knowing her history, Frank was tormented by the thought that she might have harmed herself. The family's frantic search led them to discover alarming items: Elaine's medications, information on hunting knives, maps of local forests, and links to fetish websites. This discovery prompted Frank to involve the police, who initiated an extensive search that included reviewing apartment security footage, which last captured Elaine leaving home in casual attire, different from what she typically wore. Despite a jogger's account of seeing Elaine near a footbridge leading to the beach, extensive searches led to no significant discoveries. The grim assumption was that Elaine had taken her own life, and she was officially listed as a missing person. 1 year later, the family laid flowers in her honor at Shanganagh Cemetery next to her mother. The summer of 2013 was very hot. A heat wave that swept Ireland that year had dropped the water levels in the Vartry Reservoir from 20 feet down to almost 1 foot. On September 10, 2013, William Fagan, his brother, and a friend were fishing from Sally's Bridge when they noticed something shiny beneath the surface of the water. When they fished it out of the water, they found handcuffs, clothing, a ball gag, restraints, and leg restraints. At the time, they thought it was a bit amusing and they left the items on the bridge. The next day, Fagan was a bit troubled by the items and decided to bring them to the Roundwood Gutter station. Garda officer James O'Donoghue treated the BDSM items as if they were evidence, but at the time he had no idea if a crime was even committed. He let the items dry out, bagged them, and tagged them. O'Donoghue thought, why would someone dispose of these in a reservoir? If it's just a couple disposing of their adult toys, why not just throw them in the rubbish? Someone was trying to hide something. The following day, O'Donoghue went to the spot where Fagan found the items to search the area more thoroughly. Unfortunately, the water was murky that day due to high winds, so he decided to try another day. On the third trip to the area, Officer O'Donoghue searched through the silt and found more handcuffs, an asthma inhaler, and a set of keys. On the keyring were 2 supermarket loyalty cards, one of which was for a local store called Dunn Stores. On September 16, 2013, O'Donoghue contacted Dunn Stores to find out the identity of the owner of the loyalty card. They reported that it belonged to Elaine O'Hara. O'Donoghue wasn't familiar with her missing persons case until he ran her name through the police computer. What was happening at the same time just 20 miles away was an unbelievable coincidence. A professional dog trainer and regularly walked her dogs through the Killikee forest. On August 21, 2013, her personal dog, Millie, a King Charles Cavalier Spaniel, emerged through some dense brush with a bone in her mouth. Magali thought nothing of it, assuming it was an animal bone, and set the bone on a stack of bricks nearby and continued on her way. Over the next several weeks, Millie continued to go into this same dense brush and emerge with a bone in her mouth. Finally, on September 13, 2013, Millie didn't return from the bushes and Magali went in to find her. When she found Millie, she also found a rib cage of bones. Magali still assumed they were animal bones until she came across the leg of a tracksuit pant. She touched the pant leg with her foot and realized there was also a running shoe. She immediately left and called the property owner, who then contacted the police. The police searched the area further and found 65% of a human skeleton, including a jawbone and a shovel. When DNA and dental records were searched, it was confirmed that they were the remains of Elaine O'Hara. It was September 17, 2013, one day after Officer O'Donoghue had positively identified the BDSM items and supermarket loyalty cards as belonging to Elaine O'Hara. Police then conducted a much more comprehensive search of the reservoir. They recovered a red and black backpack, leather mask, multiple knives, various BDSM items, eyeglasses, and 2 Nokia phones. The phones looked similar to what Elaine O'Hara was seen holding on the security camera from her apartment. The eyeglasses had a serial number on them which identified them as purchased from a store called Specsavers. Further investigation revealed the prescription was that of Elaine O'Hara. Police had a forensic computer team search Elaine's computer and found that she frequented dating sites that catered to the BDSM world, alt.com and colomy.com. Computer forensic specialists found that she had talked to several users on these sites, but one username in particular stood out: Architect72. The messages between them referenced cutting myself and punishment involving a master's scalpel. Architect72 was also linked to a Gmail account with the username FetishBoy. Elaine had confided in friends and family members that she had been having a BDSM relationship with an architect, but her friends knew nothing about him other than that he was married. Unbelievably, the 2 Nokia phones both powered on after more than a year submerged in the reservoir. Each phone only had one contact, one with MSTR and the other with S, clearly the master, and slave with the vowels removed. What they found on the phones was quite disturbing. Thousands of text messages spanning several years between the two that revealed a very dark relationship. The master text: "I'm a sadist. I enjoy others' pain. You should help me inflict pain on you and help me with my fantasies. I want to stick my knife in flesh while sexually aroused, blood turns me on and I'd like to stab a girl to death. If you ever want to die, promise me I can do it. My urge to rape, stab and kill is huge. You have to help me control or satisfy it. Every time I stab or strangle you, I want you to think this is it, and every time I let you live, you owe me your life and are grateful and worship me. Either you let me stab you or you help me do it to someone else. Lots of people have stabbed and got away with it, why not me? The slave replied several times that she was frightened and didn't want to talk of killing or blood anymore. I'm too young to die. You have this hold over me that terrifies me. I'm just so scared. Do you know, sir, that I'm scared of you? You have this hold over me. I know my life is in your hands every time we meet. Please don't mention killing for a while, just until I settle back into life. The phone number linked to the person known as Master was checked against the contacts in Elaine's iPhone, and it matched with someone named David. When investigators tried to call the number, no one answered. They discovered that the phones involved were burner phones, which are disposable phones bought from a store in Dublin under a fake name, Gurún Céisiúin. The investigators found a similar-sounding name, Gordon Chisholm, and questioned him, but soon realized he wasn't connected to the case. As they continued to sift through the text messages, the police stumbled upon a possible lead. A message from Slave read, "Went well today, sir. I take it you are now a daddy again. Thanks for last night, sir. Really needed it." To which Master replied, "Yes, beautiful baby girl. Glad you enjoyed the other night. Many more sessions to come. See you sometime over the weekend." These messages, dated back to March 31st, 2011, indicated that Master had a newborn daughter born on that day, and they even knew her name. Another clue emerged from the texts when Master mentioned he came fifth in flying. This one was dated June 11th, 2011. Police initially thought he was possibly a pilot, or maybe it was a reference to fly fishing, but after searching competitions around that time they soon realized he was referring to model airplanes. He had apparently come in fifth in a model airplane flying competition. Roundwood Model Aeronautical Club had a competition during that time, and the person that came in fifth was named Graham Dwyer. Coincidentally, when looking further into Dwyer's background, they found that he had just had a baby born earlier that year. During this same time, Detective Chief Superintendent Diarmuid O'Sullivan received a tip from a confidential informant who claimed that they knew who killed Elaine O'Hara. The tipster pointed to an architect named Dwyer. Graham Dwyer. Police now knew they had their man. Superintendent O'Sullivan found Dwyer's house and, during the night, took his garbage from the curb. Police went through the trash and from the contents were able to put together a DNA profile of Graham Dwyer. In Elaine's apartment, her mattress had puncture marks, possibly from a knife, plus blood and semen stains. Forensic technicians were able to get DNA from the semen stains, which didn't match anything in the police database, but did match the DNA acquired from Graham Dwyer's trash. On October 17, 2013, police knocked on Graham Dwyer's door. There was no answer, so they went to the side door and Dwyer answered in his pajama bottoms and no shirt. Graham Dwyer was a family man, a seemingly respected architect working in Dublin whose hobbies were fast cars and model airplanes. None of his friends, family, or co-workers knew of his double life. Dwyer lived with his wife and 2 young children in Foxrock, a quiet suburb of Dublin. To the majority of the world, he was just an average guy, but it's now obvious that the life he displayed was a charade. To look at him, you would never imagine such a monster could lurk behind his eyes. Dwyer wrote to his wife from his jail cell and insisted to her that he did not murder that awful woman. His wife subsequently left him. The trial was one of the biggest in Ireland's history. The story dominated headlines because of Dwyer's seemingly normal life. The amount of evidence that piled up after the extensive investigation was overwhelming. The security cameras from Elaine's apartment showed Dwyer visited the complex 9 times between January and August 2012. On July 9th, it showed Elaine with him entering the elevator shortly after 5 p.m. and Dwyer leaving 40 minutes later. Footage on August the 13th and 15th showed Dwyer carrying a bag similar to the bag found in the reservoir. Elaine's internet search history revealed searches for Graham Dwyer Architect. Gordon Chisholm, the man who was originally suspected because his name resembled the name the phones were purchased under, Garoon Keisholm, ended up being an old acquaintance of Dwyer. Even Dwyer's own son pointed him out in the security footage from Elaine's apartment complex. Dwyer's personal phone was turned off between 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. the night Elaine went missing. On Dwyer's computer, there was an online order on August 17, 2012, for a hunting knife that was delivered to his work address on August 21, the day before Elaine went missing. Additionally, there was erotic horror found on his computer, and he had shared files with her about stabbing and killing. His computer also had videos that he had filmed of himself and 4 women, where he is seen stabbing the women during sex acts. Many of the videos featured Elaine O'Hara. Several of the texts from Dwyer matched his personal life. He often mentioned his children by name, spoke of the birth of his daughter, and also referenced the Polish embassy that he visited for his architectural firm. There were further references to tattoos, car repair bills, purchasing a bicycle to get fit for murder, and the 15% pay cut that he received at work. Everything from the text cinched perfectly from Dwyer's real life. Despite the ridiculous amount of evidence against him, Dwyer still insisted he was innocent. The courtroom was filled on January 22, 2015, when the trial began. The defense tried to argue that all of the evidence was circumstantial and called only 3 witnesses. The prosecution called 4 witnesses, including Dwyer's wife, who testified that the shovel found with Elaine's remains was from their garden. Gemma Dwyer recognized the shovel because it had orange paint splatters on it from when they painted their garden fence at their home in Fox Rock. Additional witnesses included Dwyer's former partner and mother of his adult son, Emir McShay. She described him as controlling and abusive and had the desire to stab her during sex. She testified that he asked to bring a knife into the bedroom. She eventually agreed to his request, as long as he kept it on the side table. But Dwyer just couldn't control himself and had to hold it while they had sex. Still, Dwyer's defense team claimed that, because pathologists did not determine a cause of death, that there is no evidence that implies that Dwyer was responsible for Elaine's death. They argued that she had been released that morning from a psychiatric hospital for having suicidal thoughts, and even her own family believed she had taken her own life. They presented the case that the text messages the prosecution were using as evidence were nothing more than sexual fantasies. The prosecution, however, argued that the text messages detailed a very specific plan for Elaine's death, and she had repeatedly asked not to be stabbed and not to be beaten by Dwyer. They argued that Dwyer knew she was being released from a psychiatric hospital, lured her to her mother's gravesite and the remote mountain area, knowing that the police and family would believe Elaine took her own life. The trial lasted 45 days and, on March 27, 2015, the jury of 7 men and 5 women came back with a verdict. Guilty. Graham Dwyer was sentenced to life in prison. The judge said that he'd agreed 110% with the jury's decision. The trial was emotionally hard on the jury members and, because of this, the judge exempted them from further jury duty for the next 30 years. The following is the final chain of text messages between slave and master sent between August the 14th and 22nd, leading up to the death of Elaine O'Hara. Am I right in thinking you don't want to die anymore? I'm sorry I made you so mad. You'll have to take a punishment. If anything happened to you, who knows about me? No one knows your name, and no one really knows about you. They know I'm into BDSM and that I meet people. Okay, let's keep it that way. If I ever meet your neighbor, I'm your brother, David, okay? I already told the girl next door that you're a friend. Would she make a good victim for me? Too close to home. Okay. We will start going on outdoor walks for play and hunting. Sir, do I have to come? Yes, help me plan it. You won't be there, but I want to do it this year. Every time I think about it, sir, I want to heave. Just think about me being happy doing it. It's what I like. If you were any good, you would help me find her, hold her down while I kill her. Sir, are you going to stab me? Yes, I'm going to make you bleed. Nice and deep in your guts. Morning slave, looking forward to seeing you Wednesday. I'm not being stabbed. Okay, but you must take some sort of punishment. I know. What kind of punishment would you like? Choices are hard anal with stabbing and choking. Whipping till bleeding. Chained overnight in a forest. Choked unconscious. If you don't pick one, then it's all for inch. I don't know, sir. Sorry, Doc came in. Sir, you know I can't make choices. Okay, overnight in the woods. Sir, I'll take stabbing. Okay, but I must see blood. And I want to do it outdoors. Please, sir, indoors. Why? I'm afraid if outdoors, you might kill me. I won't kill you. If I was, it would be indoors hanging once you are chained up. I know, I mean that's it, nothing else. I was wondering if you could keep the visual marks to a minimum, sir, please. That's a big request. But okay. Thank you, sir, I appreciate it. I can cover wrists and arms, it's the neck, sir. Don't worry. I won't stab you in the neck. How do we do that, master? You need to get out of hospital and serve me. Yes, master, I'm out tomorrow, sir. It will be after lunch as the doc wants to see after lunch at 2:30 before I go. Are you happy going on like this forever? Sir, please stop. You want me to be here forever? Can't we just have a normal master-slave relationship without this, please, sir? Okay, but you must promise me next time you fall down that I end you. Hopefully you will be okay though. Okay, I promise, sir. What if we get caught? We won't get caught. I'm not leaving my apartment. You will have to drag me out. You will do what you are fucking told. I want outdoor play and you are going to follow instructions, or I will punish you or hang you. How do you know we won't get caught? I found a really, really remote place. No one will find us. Sir, do I have to be naked? It's very deep in the forest, and yes, you do. I don't want blood over your clothes. Now I'm terrified. Trust me, it will be exciting. Now I'm really scared. Don't be scared, do not fear death. Please don't mention killing for a while, just until I settle back into life. But tonight's punishment will be like me pretending to do someone for real. It's important to me that you feel it's my right to take my slave's life if I want to. Every time I stab or strangle you, I want you to think this is it, and every time I let you live, you owe me your life and are grateful and worship me. I know my life is in your hands every time we meet. I want you to park at Shanganar Cemetery at 5:30. Leave your iPhone at home. Just bring slave phone and keys. You will get further instructions there. Over the years, a total of 2,612 texts were exchanged between two phones. The final messages directed the woman to a specific location. Graham Dwyer then achieved his ultimate sexual fantasy of stabbing a woman to death, presumably during sex. Initially, her family believed she had taken her own life, but this changed to horror when her body was found, and it was determined she was murdered. The trial was painful for the family, particularly due to the public exposure of Elaine's private life and the manipulative texts she received from Dwyer. The family struggles with unanswered questions about her last moments and describe the ongoing pain as their life sentence, with no end to their suffering.